Your stress does not have to control you. Let me repeat that in case you're just still settling back in. Your stress does not have to control you. You will always have stress. And that's okay. We need stress to grow, to get stronger, to evolve. But we need to know how to manage that stress so that we, as our rational selves, stay in control and so that stress doesn't take over our lives. You have the capability to choose your response instead of reacting. From a young age, I played competitive soccer. I was constantly in high-pressure, high-stress situations, and that carried over to being a collegiate athlete. This became a part of my life, but also my identity. So it felt familiar and comfortable to move into a competitive fashion industry upon graduation. This high-stress state was so much the norm that I never knew or learned how to have an off switch. And the lack of boundaries was further reinforced and often celebrated in these environments. After nearly 2 decades in the industry, I knew I needed to change. I started to notice my stress, frustration, and anxiety seeping into other areas of my life, spilling onto my relationships, including the one with myself. My reactions weren't lining up with the person I wanted to be. After nearly 2 decades in the industry, I moved to Memphis at the end of 2015. I started to practice yoga. I found a studio that I loved, and I noticed peace and stress management through my yoga practice. So I dug in. I completed my yoga teacher training while still enmeshed in the world of fashion wholesale and became increasingly interested in the integral tie between movement and breath. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know the why behind what was happening in the body, and I wanted to figure out a way to be a better and healthier version of myself. So I dove in. I completed multiple breath certifications, more yoga training, and figured out that I really wanted to use my life to help others instead of getting stressed out about genes. I realized we're really only guaranteed today, and I could use my time more wisely, better aligned with my values. So I'd like to share a story with you about how I put the tools that I learned through yoga and breath into practice. I was in the middle of my second pregnancy in Phoenix, about 1,500 miles away from home for a professional workshop, and I knew no one. I flew in on Friday night, had an awesome, if not exhausting, first day on Saturday, but on Sunday, I woke up to a shock. I was bleeding, and I was scared. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was shaking. I felt my heart start to race, the tears welling up in my eyes as my mind raced down the ingrained patterns of thinking of every possible worst-case scenario. And sitting here today, you might be doing the same thing for me. And then I remembered that I knew what to do. I slowed myself down, got my breath back under control, eventually talked to the nurse on call who told me this can happen sometimes when you fly, and let's just keep an eye on things. Not only was I able to get through the rest of the workshop, but be present and enjoy it, and then get home without further complications. 5-10 years ago, I would not have been able to do this. I would have had a full freak out, probably taken myself to the closest hospital I could find, definitely missed the rest of the weekend. But instead, I was able to use the breath as a tool to keep my rational thinking in control. And both baby and I were fine, by the way. I actually had her just 10 days ago, so she's here if you hear a baby crying. So this tool that I was able to use is the breath. And I know what you might be thinking, oh yeah, somebody else talking about the power of the breath, but I assure you it is powerful, and I can back it up. See, the breath is the only system in our body that is automatic, but it's also under our control, which means we can use it as a tool to help regulate our state. But first, we need to know how to breathe properly on a daily basis as a foundation. Once we have that down, we can use the breath as a pick-me-up in the afternoon instead of reaching for another cup of coffee, or like in the example I gave, in times of stress or chaos. You can use it to stay calm and focused before, hypothetically, a big talk you have to give, or if you have a meeting with your boss, if you get cut off in traffic, which I'm sure we all have living in Memphis, or if you have a disagreement with your partner. The breath is powerful. But why should you care? Because we all have stress, and chronic stress in particular can have a major impact on your health and longevity. According to a recent study by the Mayo Clinic, Chronic stress can contribute to a myriad of health issues, including heart disease, obesity, and depression. And as we know, these things can also lead to a shorter lifespan. But you don't necessarily have to fall subject to these things. Another recent study showed that with just 10 minutes a day of slow, controlled breathing done consecutively over 6 weeks was as effective at lowering blood pressure as blood pressure medication. In short, learning to control your breath can help you live a longer, healthier life. Still not convinced? Everybody sit up nice and tall, feet flat on the ground. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes, and if not, that's cool too. You can just take the gaze off the tip of your nose. We're going to start with just a little bit of breath awareness. So first, notice how you're breathing. Is it in through the nose or through the mouth? And while, of course, we can breathe through the mouth, the nose was made for breathing. It warms the air, filters the air, humidifies the air, among other things, basically preps the air for our lungs to use optimally. So if you haven't already, start to shift the air in through the nose, out through the nose. Moving down, do you feel the breath more in the chest or in the belly? You may have heard of a belly breath. Well, a belly breath is actually a byproduct of diaphragmatic breathing. Your diaphragm is your main breathing muscle. It's nestled right up underneath the ribs. And on your inhale, the diaphragm pulls down, the lungs inflate. And on your exhale, the diaphragm domes up, air goes out of the lungs. So now start to shift the breath lower, using the diaphragm, allowing the ribs and belly to expand on your inhales and fall back together on your exhales. Finally, notice the rate at which you're breathing. Is it fast or slow? The optimal rate of breathing is about 5 to 6 breaths per minute, which equates to a 5-second inhale and a 5-second exhale. Most people breathe around 13 to 14 breaths per minute. So now see how it feels to start to slow it down. Keep your eyes closed if they're closed, and over the next few minutes, I'd like you to really observe the sensations that you feel in the body and also your mental or emotional state. So take an inhale, exhale, and hold. Keep holding until you feel the urge to breathe. Push past the first few alarm bells. Your mind might be telling you, take a breath, but can you stay with whatever you have going on? Maybe your heart rate's picking up, maybe you feel a difference in temperature. And whenever you are ready, come back to your normal breathing. What did you notice? And in your daily life, when you start to feel signs of stress or you start to feel stress, can you notice what's happening in your body? And then can you shift your attention back to the breath? Switching things up a little bit, take an inhale. Exhale. And breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. In for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Once again, just come back to your normal breathing. And just again, observe the difference. Maybe it was significant, maybe not. We're all a little different. But maybe you feel a little bit more calm, like you got a little reset on your day. You can open your eyes when you're ready. The breath is always available for us to use. We just have to learn how to use it. You can do what you just did, that in for 4, pause, out for 4, pause, whenever you need to. And as the science shows, if you do that for just 10 minutes a day for about 6 weeks, you could maybe even lower your blood pressure and thus elongate your life potentially. You're welcome. So the 3 things that I want you guys to really focus on today that you can walk away with are breathing in and out through the nose, breathing lower using the diaphragm, and breathing slower. Learning to control my breath according to these 3 principles helped me become a healthier, happier, more present, and definitely patient version of myself. And it also changed my entire career path. It is that powerful. In a world where we are plagued by stress on a daily basis, I offer you this vitally important yet terribly simple tool that you can use whenever you need it. So one more time all together. Take an inhale. Exhale. Thank you.